Shout out to Cats Pod.
A big defensive play for Montana State.
Touchdown, Tommy Milan is electrifying.
Welcome to the Cats Pod. What's up, Podcats? Here we are, week 8 in the books, and things looked great for the Cats. How you feeling today, Eric?
Oh, pretty good, man. Another big W. Another big W.
Another big win.
8-0.
What was it, Eric?
8-0 going into a bye week.
What was this game for you? What was it?
Stress-free. My favorite.
It was pretty
My
stress-free, you know. Pretty stress-free. No Xanax needed. No anxiety. You know?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
We talked on the Pick'em pod that we thought that 21.5 point spread was pretty juicy.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, did they hammer that spread, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. They beat it by quite a bit. And if Portland State doesn't happen to score those 2 touchdowns at the end, this was really a 44-0 game. Like, if you're being real, you know.
Yeah. They gave up those 2 touchdowns at the very end. I mean, but it was 38-0 when the starters went out. I mean, that's as stress-free as it gets, and they just destroyed. They have shown an ability to not care about anything other than running that score to a point that they feel comfortable and then get the guys out.
Yeah, which we love to see, you know, keeping everybody healthy. We're really thinking about the future. It really seems like the mindset of the coaching staff is orientated around the playoffs, and they really are just like 1-0 every week, like they keep saying in press conferences. They are just looking to be 1-0 every single week. They don't care about blowing people out. They don't care about the season-long stats. They're just out there to go for it. Because they could run up some ridiculous video game numbers. If they kept like Scott Ray in and he ran the entire game, he would have had 300 yards in this game easily. I mean, that guy was he was running unbelievably well. His vision was just on another level. I mean, really the only concern coming out of this game is like I hope to God Ty McCullough's okay. Yeah. It definitely sucks to see him have to go out of the game like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was not a good feeling when we saw that. Really hoping that's nothing too serious and that, you know, a good 2 weeks in a row here of healing time gets him back out on the field against Eastern Washington.
Yep. The one thing to bring us back kind of to the beginning of the game, it did feel like kind of a slow start for the Cats. I mean, as slow as it could be. I believe, if I'm not wrong, we had 7 points at the end of the first quarter.
Yes,
you know?
And a lot of that had to do with they scored pretty quick. I mean, really. Yep. And then the defense went out, got a quick 3-and-out, what should have been a 3-and-out, but there was a roughing the passer call on I can't even remember what his name is, but young kid, just, you know, got a little excited, put a bit of a late hit, and just reset everything. And that's where most of Portland State's yards for their starters came from, was that drive, because that kept that one alive, which it didn't result in anything, no points or anything. Yep. So it was no big deal, but you know, I think that Vegan's going to have a chat with the team, because I saw something, it was like 10 penalties for 122 yards. And there were some dumb ones, like that targeting call. I mean, we got to, I know it's bang, bang, and everybody's interpretation of targeting is different. And I hate targeting. I've said it a million times.
Yeah.
But we got to make sure that doesn't happen, because against a good team, losing a guy like, help me out here.
I can't even
number
think
2.
of it right now.
Drew Polidor. Losing Drew Polidor to an ejection, that could hurt you terribly.
Yeah.
In a game against a real, you know, a somewhat real opponent.
Yeah. As it gets tougher in the season, you're going to have that, you know. You're going to need those guys in the game the entire time.
Yeah. You know, I think get the penalties cleaned up, and gosh, there's just nothing to complain about, really.
Yeah. So the penalties
we
were a
got to
little
see-
bit worrying, but at the same time, most of the time as I was watching that game, I just wanted that ref crew to just chill out a little bit. Because they were calling stuff
Yeah.
that is technically a penalty, but it didn't have anything to do with the flow of the game. Nobody
Yeah, and
nobody got hurt. Like it wasn't like they were dangerous plays, and it seemed silly. It seemed like they wanted to throw a flag like every other play.
that's really true. I mean, they were pretty flag happy, and if we can clean the penalties up, this is a well-oiled machine. I mean, we got to see Miles Stanstead nail a 45-yard field goal.
Yeah, he killed it. How many was it?
He kicked 3 field goals and 5 extra
yep.
points.
Made everything.
That feels really good.
Yeah,
really good.
he's playing really well. I think he's figuring it out, and it all matters when like the pressure actually comes in. Like that changes kicking field goals a lot. But the way it's becoming automatic for him, and he's getting the reps in right now in game, makes me feel like when that pressure is on, he's going to be set up to be like, okay, I've done this before. This isn't a new thing. It's just raising it up a little bit.
I've got a nickname idea for Miles Stanstead.
Okay.
Money Miles.
Money Miles. Cash money. Cash money Miles. Okay. I'm not mad at it.
He keeps playing like that. That nickname's going to stick.
Oh yeah. If he's got to stay money, We could take this nickname away from you, Miles.
I think there's one big thing about this game that I think we should address, and that this game was full of narratives from pessimistic fans, your typical Grizzly, everybody on social media, and everyone was calling this Montana State's trap game, quote unquote.
Okay.
They were calling it a trap game. Portland State, the narrative coming into this game was Portland State beat UC Davis. If they didn't beat them, but they should have beat them off a technicality, and they kind of shellacked Idaho State. They were saying this was our trap game, and Vegas had kind of agreed. I mean, they set the spread at 21.5, and it was kind of crickets up there for a while on the socials when the Cats were up 38-0.
Yeah, not a lot of people talking. And I think that might have been because just everybody was focused so much on the Dakota Marker starting later on in the day. Like that was the big game this weekend. But just all of the chatter online, it almost makes me happy. It makes me happy in a way because Montana State is still considered the underdog. So we can still we still got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder. Ultimately, some of the chatter is correct because you still have to prove it in the playoffs and at the end of the season.
Yeah,
because we haven't seen it happen yet.
The thing about it is, everyone can bring up strength of schedule, which our strength of schedule is starting to look better. I mean, Maine knocked off the number 5 team or 6 team.
Number 5 team.
They knocked off the number 5 team with a convincing win and have a winning record. So that win's looking a little bit better. I mean, Portland State wasn't. I mean, they weren't a cakewalk or a cupcake. They were, a legit team that ran the number 7 team in the country. Yeah, and probably should have beat them.
The problem with Portland State is that they are playing against the other team and they're playing against their own administrative department every single week because they set them up with one of the toughest schedules of all time. They are not a bad team. They just play really, really good teams almost every single week.
Well, and I kind of thought they might change their name to the Portland State Whooping Coughs.
Yeah, that could be it. That didn't count as a loss that week, at least.
I was really hoping those filthy guys wouldn't give our players any sicknesses.
Yeah, hopefully they're over it by now. It was a little bit ago, but you can't forget about the whooping cough. You can't forget about the germ cesspool that is Portland.
Yeah.
Which I need to mention again is not a state. Portland's not a state.
No. It is in fact not a state.
It is.
A couple other things that we already kind of touched on Scott Ray Humphrey, but good grief.
Yeah. Killer game.
Have a day, Scott Ray.
Yeah. He is like, I'm going to get my work in early and I'm going to be off early. Okay. He was like, it's Friday. I'm going to get all my work done before noon and I'm going to be off all afternoon.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. They couldn't touch him. And I mean, he was shedding tacklers like they were mosquitoes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just brush it off and keep on going. I mean, the offensive line we're beating kind of beating the drum on those guys. It's like they just continue.
They're just consistent.
Go and go.
Yeah.
They open up holes that I could drive a dump truck through.
I'm telling you, I think I could have we'll say I would have 35 yards and a touchdown. I think if I got to current condition, if I got to run behind the Montana State offensive line.
Yeah.
I might need 10 rushes. I might get 2 yards per rush, but 2 or 3 yards per rush, but I would get there.
There was also that Latin Henley got in there early. He got a few opportunities, and that kid's a shifty little bugger.
He looks like he's got the physique of a run or a wide receiver. Not to say that he needs to switch positions, but he runs really well. He seems quick. He's got good footwork. I was honestly like, who is 31 at the beginning of the game? And he let us know. He let us know who he is.
The other thing that I love, aside from the players doing what they do, but Gregorick was on another level with his commentary.
Let's go, Ty. Who's way better than Marty Morningwood? Who's the greatest? Ty Gregorick.
I mean, the first one that just killed me was Neil Daly makes a really nice play. I can't even remember exactly what it was. And, I was scratching my head, 19, who's 19? I look it up. Oh, it's Neil Daly. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
makes sense.
Gregorick goes, that tall drink of water from Billings, Montana.
That's our dude. That's our dude right there.
That was the first one that got me. And the second one was when Taco called for that fair catch and that dude mucked him out.
Yeah.
That I think he was a tight end, was over on the sidelines getting ripped a new one by our old pal Robbie Hauk, and Gregorick goes, "Oh yeah, here's a look of our old friend Robbie Hauk. Glad to see he's just doing an incredible job with the special teams." That one had me going too.
Oh, how many tackles do you think Robbie Hauk had in this game?
I mean, if his mom was doing the stat card, a lot.
He had 5 or 6 tackles in this game from the sideline, I think.
Solo. Who knows about assist?
Yeah. Not even thinking about assisted right now.
Yeah. It was really Tommy was on point.
Yep.
Tommy looks phenomenal. Tommy's playing super smart football.
Oh yeah.
Anybody who is even remotely listed as a pass catcher of any kind, I'm not even going to label them a wide receiver, tight end, running back.
Yep.
They were unbelievable. Taco looked phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he had a couple returns called back by penalty.
Yeah.
This team is firing on all cylinders right now.
It's how many. You talk about how many wide receivers get a catch during a game. On this team, you talk about how many different tight ends got a catch throughout the game.
Yeah.
Because I think there was 4, if not 5.
Yeah. I mean, and Lonergan had a touchdown called back, touchdown catch called back. So, it was, I mean, and I text, so when I sent Ben my my sports bet picks, I picked Rohan Jones prop bet, and I told him I love it. It was only 40 yards. I was like, I love this one, and he did it on one play. Dude, Rohan is a man among boys on that touchdown.
He is a killer.
Just dragging dudes.
Yeah, He's been playing really good football. So glad to have him on the team, and it's just like a different level. You know, all these guys are on a different level right now. It's just amazing to see. Like you said, Taco was looking crazy out there. The one long touchdown that he had, him just running over dudes and breaking tackles and everything. It's like, I don't know if that says more about Portland State or more about Taco, but Taco was killing it.
Yeah. Well, and the way Tyler Walker and Vegan are using Rohan Jones, it's almost like they want him to be the dark horse in every game. He doesn't get a ton of looks in the passing game until close to halftime, and all of a sudden he's taking a 40-yard pass to the house.
Yeah.
That seems to be the narrative every week.
And he's fully fresh.
It's like they want him to be be somewhat forgotten about by the defense until he comes in and sticks a knife right in their back.
Yeah. He is the definition of an X factor in all of the best ways. He's just one of those dudes that you have to keep an eye out for, and you never know when he's going to come in, and then all of a sudden he's in, boom. It seems like they're designed plays for him because he seems so wide open on everything when they do go to him. And then the ball's in his hands, and all of a sudden he's down the field, usually into the end zone. Like, how do you do it?
Yeah. I mean, this offense is a well-oiled machine right now.
Oh, yeah.
And barring any injuries to the Don Joy Mafia and the rest of those guys on offense, I don't see how you can contain it. I mean, you might be able to, a really good team might be able to slow them down for a little bit, but they have somebody everywhere on offense that is just going to grind the souls out of the defense. Eventually, it's going to happen.
And rushing versus receiving, this was the most balanced game that we've seen the entire season, if I'm not misremembering a game. But
no, you're right.
The ball traveled through the air just about as much as it did on the ground.
Yeah, yeah. 284 passing and 323 rushing, which is
pretty darn balanced.
Yeah.
They're a one-trick pony, though. All the Cats can do is run. We all know that. Everybody tells us on a weekly basis. I feel like
Chance Wilson deserves a little shout-out.
Oh, yeah.
Chance Wilson deserves a little shout-out here. That he made a throw, an off-balance, beautiful throw.
Yep.
That looked almost impossible for him to hit his mark, and he did. I was pretty impressed by that.
And then he threw another one off his back foot into double coverage that was in the only spot that the wide receiver would have a chance for it. They didn't come down with it. I can't remember who it was exactly, but it was kind of a dime. And Gregorak was like, you probably shouldn't have thrown it there. And I was like, you probably shouldn't have. But at the same time, he did put it in the one exact spot where the ball was catchable.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I like about Chance Wilson is that he does kind of just sling it. Like, he's going to have to learn to control himself because if he gets more reps, I mean, he only passed the ball 8 times. He was 4 for 8, 50%. But when he gets more reps, he's going to have to watch out for those interceptions because you can't take those chances like that, especially when you're going against starters. So it's something definitely for him to work on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is so valuable for him to grow and learn. He has had playing time in a lot of games this year, and real reps is hard to beat. You get some real world knowledge when you're doing that every week.
It's definitely good for him to get in there. And I think it's a lot easier to teach a quarterback to reel it in than it is to teach them how to make those crazy passes out there.
Right, yeah.
So if you can start from a place where you're making those insane throws to different people and they're kind of risky, and then you learn to reel it in, I think that's what makes great quarterbacks.
Yeah. I feel like we should give the defense a pretty big shout out too.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
To overcome the injuries that they have sustained on that starting defense and play the way they did in this game is unbelievably impressive.
Yep.
it starts up front with those big guys up there, and they made life holy hell for Dante Chachere.
Yeah. I don't know
Believe
if
it or
any
not,
team has contained him that much.
I mean, he's coming off the FCS Player of the Week, not Big Sky, FCS Player of the Week,
Mm-hmm.
and he looked terrible.
He did not look good. The Cats make great players look bad. Their defense, that is what they do right now.
The defensive line was making him have to throw the ball before he was totally ready. I mean, there was a few times where, he completed a few passes, but for the most part, he was airmailing passes over the top of guys' heads. He threw a pick to Miles Jackson. I mean, Brody and Kenny Iden were all over him all game.
Oh, yeah.
Neil Daly looked phenomenal out there in his first start.
Yep.
Mikado Riley was all over. The secondary played really well. I mean,
yep.
To overcome the injuries like they have is awfully impressive.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he went from 400 yards last week to 68 yards combined rushing and passing this week.
Yeah, I mean, that is a ridiculous change.
Yeah, that is putting somebody in a box and not letting them go anywhere. Which, with this team, it's kind of, it's a little bit easier just because there's not a ton of talent surrounding Dante Chachere, so you can really just put your entire game plan into stopping him. And if other teams do that, they're going to be very successful against Portland State. And it'll be interesting to see how Dante bounces back from this and if he continues to have the great season he was having before this game, because I don't think anybody else has done this to him.
Not on this level. I mean, holding a player like him, I mean, you think back to, he was on that team last year. Mm-hmm. He had quite a few yards last year.
Yeah.
I mean, looked decent last year.
Yep.
And this defense, they figured out a way to turn him into me as the quarterback, essentially.
Yeah. Are you saying that you could come up with 64 passing yards in this game?
Probably not, but I would say he was closer to me than he was to Tommy. How about that?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I would say that is very factual. Great to see Tommy slinging it around, too.
This guy, he doesn't get enough credit. Mm-hmm. He deserves to be in the Player of the Year conversation.
Oh, definitely.
He has for a couple weeks, but haven't you seen the growth out of Tommy this year?
It's
the way
insane.
he plays it safe with his body.
Yep.
He takes care of the football. I mean, aside from the New Mexico game, which those were kind of garbage anyway, but he has not thrown an interception. He has not done anything with the football that isn't exactly what he's supposed to do with the football. I mean,
he makes great decisions. He makes big plays.
No complaint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you stack up his stats against Cam Miller, who I believe is the leader for Player of the Year, right?
Yeah.
Most people would say he's the leader. His stats stack up directly with Tommy's. It is pretty darn even. And I would love to see it after this game because I think they probably got a whole lot closer than they were. I think Tommy was 300 passing yards behind Cam Miller, but his rushing yards were more, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we get into the Dakota Marker?
Yeah, we might as well. I can't think of anything else we need to bring up from Montana State, Portland State. Trying to think about it. No, I think we hit on everything.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is the Cats did exactly what they were supposed to and more, and left. There was absolutely no doubt.
Yep. In
my mind, these guys are primed.
Oh yeah,
they're unbelievably talented.
They are definitely ready to go, and they are ready for the season. They're really, really ready to get into the meat of this season.
Yeah. It was an impressive win. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
The Dakota Marker. It was quite the defensive slugfest.
Oh, yeah. This was a kind of a tough game to watch for like the first. Honestly, the first quarter and the third quarter were almost unbearable for me because I can't. I have a hard time getting into the defensive side of everything, you know.
Yeah.
So the second quarter was a little bit of fun, and then the fourth quarter, when the tension started to ratchet up, that was really fun to watch.
Yeah. If you like watching a lot of football with not a lot of scoring and just essentially a defensive slugfest, that's what you got to watch.
Yep. If you're a big fan of these defensive grinded out games, then you probably loved this game.
Yeah. I will say North Dakota State does look like the better team.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they did. Cam Miller definitely, that last drive that they had, that was one of those situations where you're just putting the team on your back, being the senior leader, and leading yourself down the field to get what was eventually a game-winning touchdown drive. So it's like you got to be big in those big moments, and Cam Miller did do that.
Yeah.
But overall, throughout the game, their offense did not look impressive, especially rushing-wise.
No, I mean, and maybe that is just really good defenses just really holding, but I don't think NDSU and SDSU offenses have quite got it figured out yet.
No.
I still think that they're I mean, we've seen really good North Dakota State teams play really good defenses and still ways to score on more than 2 drives in an entire game.
I think this was a huge game for NDSU just to get the Dakota
Cam Miller's
Marker back.
legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And NDSU did enough to get the dub.
Mm-hmm. They ended up pulling it out late in the game, but overall just not impressive. The rushing for SDSU is a little bit better than it was for North Dakota State, but it's tough because we're looking at these huge numbers every week for the Bobcats. It's usually over 500 yards combined in most of these situations.
That Chase Mason.
Yep.
That Chase Mason had 80 yards, and one of them was a 66-yard touchdown run.
Yeah. So that's it's also tough because he just kind of broke out for one, and that accounts for like a lot of the rushing yards, you know.
Watching North Dakota State block that PAT gave me some horrific flashbacks, though.
Oh yeah, I was in the same place. I really thought that they were going to take that back for the score. What'd you think about?
I'm so glad they did.
Yeah, what'd you think about the emotions in this game? It felt really chippy.
I mean, it was chippy. I mean, there was a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Gronowski got unsportsmanlike. One of the North Dakota State guys got unsportsmanlike.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's something you kind of expect from a game like this. I mean, this is 2 high-octane teams that really, really, really wanted it.
Yep.
Rivalry game. You kind of expect some chippiness. I don't know. I didn't really have a problem with any of it.
Yep.
There was nothing too egregious.
Yep. The only person I really felt bad for was Chase Mason in that situation. Because he's just standing in the end zone, having his moment, doing his little dance, and then he looks over and he's like, you could see the realization on his face, like, where is my team? Where is everybody at? And then he looks over and he's like, oh, okay, I see where I rank right now, you know. I see how much I matter on this team, you know.
Yeah, I felt kind of bad for him on that one because none of his team even celebrated with him. They were more concerned with protecting their quarterback from getting eaten alive by some big linebackers.
And Gronowski goes out there and then tries to block somebody and gets blown up because that's what's going to happen in that situation. And then they get mad because he got blown up. I was like, you started the fight. You can't get mad when you're the person who initiates the fight. Like,
yeah.
Why'd you touch me, dude? I was like, because you hit me. Like, or you tried to.
Yeah. No, I'm just going to throw this out there. And, the Montana State, after this Dakota Marker game, everybody is just, they're looking past us. They don't even care.
And
Bobcats
we're
are
fine with
fraud.
that. Let's stay under the radar.
Yep. I didn't see anything in that game that said that what I've seen from these Bobcats would make me quake in my shoes.
No.
I didn't see anything that scared me from these two teams. They're big games no matter how you slice them.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Bobcats win out and we can hold on, because you got to remember NDSU and SDSU both play USD this year still. USD is a good football team. There's a chance for both of these teams to take another loss potentially.
Mm-hmm.
If MSU just takes care of business, we're going into this game 0-0 every week.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there's a realistic chance that we could get it in and host one of these schools in Bozeman. And if that's the case, watch out.
Keep watching out. The biggest thing I feel like for these fan bases from the Dakotas is I don't think they've fully realized how much the gap has shrank over the last year, just this season. The gap between Montana State, and I'm not going to talk about the full Big Sky because there's been so much inconsistency of play in the Big Sky, and it is hard to talk about them being as competitive as the Missouri Valley right now just because of the inconsistency 2 through 10 or whatever it is. But you look at last season, and there's a lot of contributing factors here, but at the beginning of the season, we are a toe away from beating South Dakota State. Now, you can talk about early season versus the end of the season, what the quality of these teams are, but that all kind of thrown out a little bit. Montana State played right with one of the best teams in the country. And they were not in their full form. Yeah. They were not the same as this season. Defensively, the team has grown a ton, and offensively, the team has grown a ton. And they are not the same team as did play against SDSU last year. Then you look at the end of the season. We play against North Dakota State, and we put up a lot of points on that defense. That's essentially the same defense as they have this year, if I'm not incorrect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 I love feeling like an underdog. I love that everybody just looks right past the Cats.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing it. Keep underestimating them. Keep saying, oh, Portland State's a trap game. Oh, Eastern Washington's a trap game. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. It's going to make it sweeter when we come out and make sure you know that you're wrong.
Yeah. And we're not stepping in traps.
These guys are going. They do their talking with what they leave out on the field. The Bobcats do. And I had a great time watching the Dakota Marker. There's two really good teams, but there is nothing that terrifies me about this.
No. It wasn't like I was sitting there watching those games. I'm not going to lie, I was more scared watching the footage of Idaho beating Wyoming. Because Idaho looked really, really good in that game against Wyoming. I was a little bit scared during that game. I was like, this is going to be a bigger game than I thought it was. This team has grown a lot. I was not getting any of those feelings from the Dakota Marker game.
No. I mean, to me, South Dakota State is showing that they miss what they lost last. They lost 3 extremely talented players on offense.
Mm-hmm.
A fair amount of linemen. I mean, they lost a lot, and they're still a really good team, but there's some growing pains there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
In North Dakota State, they've had a bit of the injury bug. They are a good team. Cam Miller's fantastic. They have really good wide receivers. But if you can contain Cam Miller a little bit, their rushing game hasn't shown, or at least they didn't last night, show the ability to take over a game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the Bobcats' forte, is being a balanced offense at this point.
Yeah.
They can throw the ball. They can rush the ball. They have the best rushing attack that I've seen.
Yeah. I don't think it really compares rushing wise. I think the Cats have been ahead of these other teams for the last few years in that. But the balance we're seeing offensively, defensively, rushing and passing, that's what I feel makes this Montana State team different than the ones we talked about in the past.
And it all starts with the Don Joy Mafia up front. Those guys can keep Tommy upright. They're opening up holes. And I haven't seen any reason to think that they can't do that against the big dogs either.
Mm-hmm. I don't see it either. I feel like SDSU might start to be overlooked a little bit after this loss to North Dakota State, which is crazy to say when it's a back-to-back championship team.
Yeah.
But they might end up with some seeding problems going into the end of the season. They might have to play an extra game if they do end up losing another one, but they are still going to be the most dangerous team in the country when the playoffs come around.
Nothing beats playoff experience.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Mm-hmm. And
they know how to win. I think for me specifically, South Dakota State, what it all comes down to is how people rank the teams after this week.
Yeah.
Was the Cats' victory more impressive than South Dakota State's loss?
Mm-hmm.
Can you put a 2-loss school in front of an undefeated Montana State?
I am really, really curious to see what's going to come out on Monday. And we'll have a chance to talk about it on Wednesday, but I have a feeling that Montana State might still be in that third spot. And I don't believe it's correct, but I think it's what's going to happen.
I would tend to agree with you. I think that people watch the Dakota Marker and they say these are the two best teams, and then a gap, then Montana State, then a gap.
I think that is the general consensus right now.
Then USD, UC Davis.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to guess, I would say come Monday, it's number 1 North Dakota State, which we knew the winner of the Dakota Marker would go to number 1, but we figured the loser would go to number 3. And I still think I want that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Montana State moves up to 2, but I feel like, and I mean, we're beat down Cats fans. We've been beat down by the ranking committee for years and years and years.
Yep.
So we're used to getting snubbed.
Yep.
So if they stay at number 3, I hope the Cats put a little chip on their shoulder from that.
Just stack it on top of the chip that's already growing, and just keep doing what you're doing with like the entirety of the mentality of this team. I don't think anybody on the team is going to really care if they don't get ranked higher. The only place it's going to make a difference is when we get to that playoff ranking. Do we get one of those top 2 seeds? Because we are going to deserve one of the top 2 seeds if this team continues playing the way they are. But whether or not they actually get that, that's going to be up for debate because of the way this committee is set up.
Yeah, what would be ideal is now South Dakota goes and beats SDSU, moves SDSU down to number 4, and then we just keep that all season long, and we get another Dakota Marker to get to Frisco
in the playoffs.
How about that?
We get them playing against each other. That would be kind of nice, That would be kind of nice. It won't. It'd be too beautiful for us. We would be more likely to see a Cat Grizz matchup in the playoffs, like the Grizz somehow still get into the playoffs, and we would end up having to play them in the playoffs. That would more likely happen than a second Dakota Marker this year.
Yeah. Either way, I didn't see anything yesterday that scared me too much as a Cap fan. Be a tough game, absolutely no doubt. But I'm absolutely not going to say not a winnable game.
No.
Very tough, gritty, but winnable.
Very close. Honestly, one of the kind of games I love to watch. I know I do like a little bit of a stress-free win, but I just like to see strength on strength, two really good teams going at it, and that's what we saw out of the Dakota Marker, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing in the playoffs.
Yep. Now we get a bye week. We get everybody rested up.
Mm-hmm.
Get Julius and Justice back possibly.
Yep.
Boy, things are looking good if you're a Bobcat.
Yeah.
Real good.
It's a great year to be a Bobcat. Great day to be a Bobcat. All of the above.
Yep. And before I forget, Ben owes Miles Jackson a shotgun.
I don't know. I think you're going to have to take this one, brother. I mean, we made a 1-week deal, and now it's turning into like a month-long deal. I don't know if this. I don't think this is standing up. It was not season long when we first. I'll find the tapes. I know it was not season long when we first made this bet. So I feel like, Miles, go ahead and jump on there.
No, there was no. There was no bet. You said you would do a shotgun for turnovers. Well, there was a turnover.
Yes, when at the one game for the Gold Rush game, and now I did one, and now our entire feed is just me drinking beers, which I feel like is not the best look. But if I had some help, if you were along there on the page with me shotgunning a beer, I think it'd be a little bit different. I think that's what the fans really want to see.
You got to do it for the bit, brother.
The bid is taking over, and I don't know if I can handle it.
Yeah. But
it's getting
there. Looking forward to a bye week.
All right. Bye week coming up. We will have some content for you guys on Wednesday. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we let everybody go?
I don't think so. I'm good.
Think we covered it all. So, episode coming on Wednesday. We will see if we've got a little bit something special coming for you next weekend. We've got some things in the work, so hopefully you will be getting a nice bye week episode coming up here. Make sure you rate us 5 stars wherever you are listening to this at. Go ahead and follow us on X and Instagram at CatsPod. Thanks everybody for listening. We may have some new merch stuff coming down the road. I've been looking into some different providers and stuff, get us some better quality shirts, hoodies, everything like that. So we may be coming out with some new lines before the end of the season. We'll see how it goes. Other than that, have a great week, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Adios.